As I'm sure you've heard by now, the conservative pundit and commentator Charlie Kirk died yesterday after being shot in the neck by an unknown assailant. Now, the FBI does have a photo that has been put out of the alleged shooting suspect, and that if anybody has information, no, you don't. Now, previously, two people were previously arrested in connection with the shooting, but were later released within an hour. There was also a very quick rumor going around that the shooter had been trans and that they had shot Kirk while he was talking about trans shooters. But this turned out to be misinformation, and obviously, as we now know, is not true. Now, there's a great deal of controversy surrounding his death. Mainly, a lot of conservatives are taking this as not trying to make a joke here, as a turning point, because they're literally saying that this is the turning point where everything's going to have to change now, and the violent left, being that it's almost exclusively right wingers who do shootings, now finally have to be stood up to, and the ones that have to be finally be stopped. And usually they're using this as code for going around and shooting leftists. Now, the funny thing is they're actually talking about liberals, not actual leftists, but I actually digress. There have been a great deal of people who have actually been celebrating Charlie Kirk's death due to ideological differences. And those are obviously going to happen. If this was a leftist who had been shot, rightists would be standing up there celebrating it and making jokes as well. I mean, these are literally the people who celebrate the death of trans people, making jokes about, 49, 51% of trans people, etc. So they're really not in any situation to have some kind of moral outrage at the celebration of someone's death, particularly since they're celebrating a group of people. But I think that there is a very important context to keep in mind when talking about Charlie Kirk and the violence that he has suffered. One, he referred to school shootings as essentially acceptable collateral damage, and that the children who die in these shootings are the price we pay for freedom, or particularly the freedom to own firearms. So to refer to dead children as essentially acceptable losses. Now, he didn't come out and say that, but when he refers to these acts of violence as a price you pay for freedom. So yes, he actually is referring to dead children in school shootings as acceptable losses. So don't try to turn around and say that he wasn't trying to say that, because basically, yes, he actually was. He also referred to empathy as a made-up New Age term, which does kind of reveal something about his character, that he feels that empathy is a bad thing, being, a basic human trait that all people are supposed to have, and that you can show, evolutionarily, we are supposed to have, and that not having it is actually a bad thing that does threaten the collective in general, and that evolutionarily showing that someone having no empathy is someone who got ostracized from society because they did pose a danger to it. And I think that this also is not just an attitude that he has, but is a general attitude of capitalism in general, and Charlie Kirk being a great advocate of that, and being a great advocate of Israel as well. And the fact that, it's only literally committing a genocide. So to support a side that's committing genocide and then say that you don't believe in empathy, I think that, maybe the numbers are starting to come together and things are starting to add up about this guy and what kind of a person he actually really was. And some people have rightly noted that if him saying that people dying in shootings, school shootings, are a price that you pay for the freedom to own firearms, I guess he never thought it would be him that would be that acceptable loss one day. So I think that this is all things that do very much need to be kept in perspective when looking at the anger towards his death and the humor that's being made towards his death as well, to keep in context, his particular character and, what kind of a person he was and what he actually thought of school shootings, considering that he now did actually die inside of one, and what he actually thought of empathy towards those who were suffering. And that now here he is, essentially a person who the right is now calling on for everybody to have empathy towards, after he said empathy was essentially a dirty word. But on a more pragmatic note, it is important to keep in mind that essentially Charlie Kirk is going to be made out to be a martyr, as someone who sacrificed their lives for the right, for conservatism, for Christianity, and possibly even for Israel itself. I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu has already come out in statements of support for Charlie Kirk, calling him a great ally of Israel and whatnot. So, making a martyr out of him was really not a good idea, because the right doesn't need any martyrs. Because anything that really emboldens them is not a good thing. So I don't think that it was really the right thing to do in this situation. I mean, it's different between, there's a difference between shooting someone like him and shooting someone like Trump. I am not advocating shooting or harming any political individuals, or advocating shooting or harming anyone in any way, shape, or form, because that would be illegal and I would never do that. But there is very much a difference between the two things, and how there would be a reaction from the public between these two things, and the importance of the individuals and the power which they wield in society. And that is, I think, objectively true. So I don't think this was really the right thing to assassinate him. And I think it still remains to be seen exactly who shot him. I mean, it's pretty obvious that whoever did shoot him was probably not a liberal, but was probably, because given that liberalism is a right-wing ideology, it was probably an actual leftist who shot him. And I think it's actually pretty interesting that the police didn't actually catch anyone at the time. I mean, you would think that it wouldn't be that hard to catch a shooter in that kind of a crowd, but evidently it was, and even did end up getting more than one person wrongly arrested, including one older gentleman, which originally I had reported had been the suspect of the shooting itself. So in terms of who the suspect is, who is behind the shooting, still remains to be seen. I do tend to think that it's probably going to be some kind of a leftist, and by that I mean an actual leftist. And I do think, and I think it's probably common sense at this point, that Charlie Kirk is going to be made a great big martyr out of this, and that we're going to be hearing about this a lot, and how the left is totally violent when it's really the right who has consistently used violence politically, at least within the last 50 years or so. It has been them who has done it. I mean, one need look no further than January 6th as at least a symbol of right-wing violence. I mean, they only literally attempted to overthrow the government for a fascist tyrant that is Trump. So those are my actual thoughts on the situation. So everyone, keep your eyes and ears peeled for more information on this situation, because this is going to be still developing for some time soon, and eventually I'm very certain that we're going to get the shooter that was behind this, because I think with a right-wing, very heavily right-wing, fascist dominated government, the FBI is not, under no circumstances, is going to let this go.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.